Okay. We are recording. We are back in our new location, so it's not new anymore.
Dude, this is so good. It's stupid. All right.
And I'll have that right there so we can keep an eye on the time.
I started last time.
All right. We are back once again with our Mike and Mike's Off-Air podcast. Mike Pesto.
And Mike O'Neill right here. Good to see you.
He pointed, so I got a point now, too. And we'll have visual aids here in a second because before we really get rolling, you've got something that you want to show off.
Oh, my goodness. This is my favoriteest thing since last summer. I'm a Dutch Brothers fan. I was sworn over to the Dutch Brothers side last season. I don't go to the other one that starts with an S and ends and rhymes with Arbucks.
What could it possibly be?
I don't go to Starbucks
But at
anymore.
least he didn't say the name.
No way. But this is just the best thing. It's called the Tropical Frozen Lemonade, and it's nuts because it's kind of sweet and tart. And you see that layer at the top there? That's their real strawberries right at the top there. So it's like I'm having my dessert, and at the end of my dessert, I get a dessert.
So you get two desserts there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, by the way, this is why you want to watch our podcast as opposed to just listen, because if you're just listening, you have no idea what Mike was just talking about.
Well, and the way I presented it, they probably don't anyway. But
that's one of my biggest pet peeves with radio, and I hear professionals do this all the time. Here, hand me that. Oh, what is that? What does that look like to you? It's radio. I can't see it. Why are you talking about the way something looks?
That is funny that you would say that. I'm gonna deviate your deviation. My wife and I, we have a different way of communicating with each other.
Okay.
And I think this because, and I don't think it's just Mars Venus. It's just I'm in this business, and it's my job to use an economy of words to present the most I can with. And you and I are both pretty good at that.
Well, you're better at that than I am. I'll get reeled in for my word economy on occasion. The benefit I have is doing a morning show where I can talk for 90 seconds, 2 minutes at a time, whereas I'm sure you try to keep that to 30 to 60 seconds.
But my point for this is my wife is so often devoid of useful nouns. I'm going to go do the thing over there at that place. And I'll just go, honey, that was a non-statement. You just said nothing. I don't know what you're going to do or where. So could you start over? Oh, I'm going to go get my hair done over at Deja Vu.
Uh-huh.
That was a statement. Not I'm going to go do the thing over at the place. Anyway, you reminded me of that with that. Made me laugh.
I think there's a lot of my wife is guilty of this. And I'm sure I am as well, but I think in most relationships, you see the faults sometimes more than you see the things that are done right in others, and you don't see your own.
Oh, yeah.
You're guilty of that. And I forget what it was this past weekend that I caught my wife in one of those moments where I had to tell her, I'm not a mind reader. I have no idea what you're talking about. And then she had, I didn't explain. Yeah, there was a whole thing. I didn't text you first. If I had texted you that, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, can you get me up to speed?
I tell Colleen, I'm not on the psychic network, honey. And she's like, and that's what that. See, speaking of negative, that's something I have to be careful of. I'm very often sarcastic, but with just 2 steps over the line, sarcasm can turn into passive aggression, and I have to be careful of that. So that's an awareness I must watch out for.
I think my wife has given up that battle.
Uh-oh.
She knows that. I mean, the thing is, that's who I've always been. I've always had that sarcastic personality. I think I got that from my dad in particular.
Yep.
And that's who he was. That's who I am.
It must have been their generation because to this day, Dad, I'm coming. And I can still hear my dad saying, so's Christmas from halfway across the house.
My thing is, so's our Lord and Savior, but we don't know when.
There it is.
And we don't know when you're coming either.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple things I want to get to this week with the official launch of the podcast. The poll question that almost was up for like 48 hours, I think. And then the poll question that is right now online at my975fm.com. We'll start with that one since you can still weigh in on it. I don't know where this came from. I'm guessing it was a Friday afternoon post on TikTok because that's how the worst things happen. someone threw out the question, and I guess this was posed several years ago, but it really took off this time. In a hand-to-hand battle between 100 men and one silverback gorilla, who would win?
I don't know the real answer. I just know I've seen those gorillas fight. I'm not going to be one of those 100 men. Those gorillas are not just really physically strong, but when they get enraged, oh, my friend, they are enraged.
Did you see King Kong?
You don't want to be in front of that train when it's running, is all I can say. I don't know the answer. It's just one of those TikTok things, so I don't know.
I don't know if there is a definitive until we actually get 100 men in a ring, the octagon, with one silverback gorilla who's really pissed off about something.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could ever figure it out.
And I love that our video is some gorilla expert sounding off on that. I'm like, really? Are you really an expert on this?
This is how you know this took off, because the video that is up, I think it's from ABC, the national network. As you said, they called a gorilla expert in because, again, this took off on Friday. Producers saw that it was still something being talked about online Saturday. So network producers, listen, we need a fluff piece. Let's go with that. Let's get an expert on with our host to talk about it. And sure enough, spent like 2 minutes talking about how it would probably go down with 100 men versus one silverback gorilla.
Gorilla expert. Why do I expect a ding, ding, Law and Order sound effect? Would you please call up your gorilla expert? Anyway.
I would give the line, let's get ready to, but it's copywritten. I don't want to get in trouble. So, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the video or not yet. She did explain, because I thought for sure. I talked with Jennifer Grant about it. we have to get her in on one of these podcasts one of these days.
She is one of the funniest people, and I mean this in a very, very, very positive way. One of the funniest people I know. If you can't laugh with Jennifer Grant, there's something wrong with you. She's got a wonderful sense of humor.
And very sarcastic at times as well.
Fits right in.
But as soon as I told her, hey, listen, change of plans. We're changing the poll question to this because this has taken off. She also noted that she'd seen it in a few places. Without missing a beat, the gorilla would tear them all a new one.
You'd think, because how can 100 guys all be on one gorilla at a time? It's just, the gorilla's just going to keep kicking one human being's butt, or two at a time, or three, and he's stronger than all three of them. So I mean, it's a laws of physics.
Yeah, only so many. There's only so much space that the gorilla can occupy, and how do you get access to enough of it?
If he can last 100 guys, he's going to pound all their asses. Is what's going to happen.
So the expert weighed in, and she did mention that on average, a healthy, strong male silverback gorilla is 10 times as strong as a human being.
That's not good.
Okay, but this is 100 human beings. And some women would disagree with this. Most men are smarter than a gorilla. Most men. Maybe President Company excluded, but, you know.
Well, my wife would agree with that.
So we could figure out ways to attack without using any weapons, because, again, that's the thing. It's hand-to-hand, Mortal Kombat. And the gorilla, while it does have a ton of energy, if the men could figure out a way to kind of wear it down a little bit, this gorilla expert said chances are, over a longer period of time, yes, 100 men could probably take him out.
Especially but the guys at the bottom are going to suffer for this. But if they all just landed on him, I mean, ready? We're just gonna pile on. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna smash this son of a gun. And if they were all willing to do that, but the guys on the gorilla are going to get their asses ripped off.
And she did point that out. She said,
French.
again, the men would win, but there would be some guys who would never tell the tale.
Yeah.
Not all of the men would survive.
Yeah.
That's kind of what she was kind of getting at.
I'd have to agree.
So the question is still up there. We'll stay up until Friday of this week, again at my975fm.com. Same place you may have gone to check out the video and the podcast.
Inquiring minds want to know, so weigh in.
Which gets us to the question that we didn't have. Actually, it was up for about 48 hours, and a couple of you voted on it, and I apologize for taking it down, and maybe we'll revisit it if something like this happens again. But the question was wrapped around what happened with the NFL draft 2 weekends ago, when Shedeur Sanders, a player for Colorado State, I believe, went undrafted the first round, second round, third round. Well, The son of the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons somehow got access to Dad's phone number. Now, this is a college-age kid, so I use the term kid loosely. Got access to Dad's phone, or at least the phone numbers of a handful of players that were expected to go in the draft. That had maybe slipped a little bit. So I don't know if any of his buddies were involved with this, he decided to prank call a handful of them.
Really?
And you hadn't heard about this?
No.
Oh, wow.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
No, this was everywhere during the draft, actually the day or so afterwards. And again, it was our poll question for about 48 hours.
Jeez.
Called Shedeur Sanders, and again, a handful of other players, and made it sound like they were about to be drafted by this person on the phone. And then, at least with the Shedeur Sanders call, end the call with, hey, you ready to get drafted? Yeah, I sure am. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Click.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a prank call.
But all things considered, that's not funny. For me.
Did you ever get into Prank Yankers? I think that was the name of the group that was on. I think Comedy Central. It was.
Yeah, I've watched it. See, I know you do. I know you do. Well, and just like we had on our other station, we had Rick Dees for years did Candid Phone. The other guy on our station, what did he do?
Well, I did them.
Yeah,
remember?
but what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you make the crazy phone calls and you try to fake people out, it's just that.
And I did exactly the same thing. We did lunch deliveries, and the
just
payoff with the lunch delivery was I would call as Doug. I was always Doug. And I would call and would start off as a prank call because they would submit to have a lunch delivery. I would wait like a month or so they'd forget about it. Then I would call them as Doug with some strange off-the-wall request. One, because I was calling into a business. And then the payoff was always, well, how about I just bring you lunch instead from the new My 97.5? Oh, this is Mike Pesto. Yeah, it's Mike Pesto. So it started off
as a
prank call.
As long as it's not too mean. I've heard some really, really awful ones.
Well, do me a favor, because I think the video for Shedeur Sanders, because he actually had a friend of his record the video of him taking that phone call, and maybe some of the others did as well.
Because they thought they were capturing his history.
They thought this is it. The moment I'm getting drafted, I'll always want to remember this. And turns out it was a prank call. Now, NFL didn't like it at all. They fined the team $250,000.
Wow.
This sounds like a lot, but we're talking NFL team. That's nothing.
Yeah.
They make donations to that on a daily basis to nonprofits and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They fined the defensive coordinator, whose son it was that did it, $100,000. I'm sure that stung
A little
bit more. Look for his GoFundMe page popping up sometime soon.
It's probably.
But I listened to some sports talk stations afterwards. It amazed me how many people got on this college age, again, lack of a better word, kid for doing a prank phone call. They're going to be multimillionaires before it's all said and done. Everyone that he called did ultimately get drafted. They're all signing contracts. They will all get millions of dollars on their rookie deals, and if they do better, they will get multi-year contracts after that. I don't see any harm in this at all. I know I'm in the minority on this, but my thing is, like when you play a pickup game in basketball, no blood, no foul. Show me where he was financially injured by this. He wasn't in the least.
It's not, for me, it's not about financial injury. It's just, I mean, you're so revved. You're so amped. Mm-hmm. You're raw, waiting for this. I'm falling. Am I gonna get drafted? And then this prank happens. And I'm going to have to say it probably threw him way off his game.
Oh, sure it did.
And that's hard. I mean, this is his day.
But at the end of
mess with him some other day.
He's still got. I mean, again, there is no emotional distress. You know what? You're a big boy. Get over it. I used to, when I had slumber parties with my friends in grade school, we all either at my house or go over to their house. It would always end up when, okay, we're going to prank. Like the old call people and see if the refrigerator is running. Well, you better go run and catch it, and you hang up. Or
those I did as a kid.
But again,
those I did as a kid.
So should you get in trouble for that? That was a prank phone call.
I was 12, and
But
I
it-
did
but
get in
again-
trouble for that.
But should you be fined? Should your parents be fined? Because
No, not for prank phone calls.
but that's what this was.
But
That's again, there was no harm, no foul. All these players still got drafted. I think it's funny, especially
I know.
considering in Shedeur Sanders' case, he did drop as far as he did, not because of the prank phone call.
no,
it
that had
just-
nothing to do with
no-
it. That's a whole other podcast,
Exactly.
by the way.
So I think, I mean, I've never been this guy, but I think we've all just gotten way too sensitive about things that back in the day we used to do. Now somebody else does it. Oh, how dare they? Really? We did the same thing every other weekend when we had slumber parties.
And, you know, I'm just sitting here thinking that if I ever came over to one of your slumber parties, I'd be afraid that I might need a rubber sleeping
Sleeping bag.